The Bald Man and the Fly. It was an ordinary summer afternoon. The sun hung high in the sky, its warm rays beating down on a small, peaceful courtyard. The air smelled faintly of grass, and a light breeze rustled the leaves of the nearby trees. But amidst the tranquility, there was one persistent, buzzing sound: a fly. It zipped through the air, its tiny wings a blur, causing the man to swat at it again and again. He was alone in the courtyard, his bald head gleaming under the sun, his patience wearing thin. Each time his hand moved to strike, the fly darted away just out of reach, mocking him with its agility. The bald man grimaced and wiped the sweat from his brow. He had never been one for patience, and this little creature, so small and insignificant, had become his sole focus. His eyes narrowed, his hands moved faster, and he swatted harder. But the fly, oh, the fly, seemed to dance in the air, almost as though it knew exactly what he was thinking. It would hover in front of him for just a moment, teasing him, before zipping away once more. The man could feel his frustration building, his body tense with every failed attempt. And then, as if the fly knew it had the upper hand, it hovered just above his head, taunting him. Finally, the man's patience snapped. With a swift motion, his hand came down hard, aiming to crush the fly once and for all. But the fly, with a tiny twist of fate, darted aside at the last second, leaving the man's hand to crash down on his own bald scalp. The impact left a stinging sensation, and for a moment the man stood still, shocked by the sting of his own strike. He rubbed his head, blinking in disbelief. How could he have missed? How could such a tiny creature make him feel so foolish? But then, the fly, it hovered in front of him once again. And this time it wasn't just buzzing. No, it was almost as if the fly was laughing. It danced in the air, circling his head with a mocking, rhythmic buzz. It was as if the fly was saying, "You missed. You're not quick enough. You're no match for me." And just like that, the man felt it, the sting of humiliation. His head, already bare, now seemed to shine with the spotlight of his failure. The fly was no longer just a nuisance. It had become the embodiment of something deeper: his pride, his ego, his inability to control the smallest of things. The fly continued to taunt him, mocking his every move. It darted in front of his face, flew in lazy circles around his head. The man, his arms heavy from swatting, stood there, defeated. The tiny creature, so small, so insignificant, had won. It had beaten him without even trying. And then, as if realizing it had pushed him far enough, the fly made one last pass. It lingered for just a second longer than usual, almost as though it was savoring the moment. Then, with a final flick of its wings, it darted off into the air, leaving the man alone in his quiet, sunlit courtyard. He stood there for a long moment, his chest rising and falling, his hands trembling at his sides. The fly was gone, but its presence lingered in his mind, buzzing softly in the corners of his thoughts. The man smiled faintly, bitterly. It had been a fight he would never win. A fight with no victor. And maybe, just maybe, that was the real lesson here. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to help the channel grow.